Hey there, VampadMan57 here, and what I've got for you today is how I feel about fighters, and more certainly, more about how fighters feel in War Thunder, and comparing them to what we sort of play the game and how the game was probably intended, and all that jazz. Basically, I'm flying out with my friend Tom. We're going for some easy kills, basically, as you do with a fighter, because a fair fight is for suckers. And basically, I don't get that many kills, but the kills I get are, I suppose, the right type of kills, the kills that you should be looking for. Um, let's basically talk about the planes that I'm using. I'm flying out with my Germans. They're not my favorite fighters. My favorite fighters are the Japanese, because I love their cannons. I love their maneuverability, and I enjoy, if I'm dogfighting, I enjoy the hard turns and less of the boom and zoom sort of power out and use speed and everything else, which is very complicated for my poor little brain to understand. I rather spin round in circles in the clusterfuck getting kills. But there is, column A and column B with every aircraft that you use for nearly every army. Bar Russians, of course. They are totally OP. So, I'm flying out with my Germans. I enjoy flying out with my Germans. My Germans are my bomber killers. So when I'm flying out with my Germans, the idea is to go up high altitude fighting. I know necessarily the aircraft might be sorted out for that, but that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm going high altitude. I'm going to go kill bombers, and we're playing a ground strike, which most of the bombers head for the deck to actually hit the boats, because trying to hit a boat from there all the way up there is bloody difficult. So we're just larking about at this point. We're taking the mick about saying how our squadron should all have to be forced to give away their positions constantly with smoke. And this is where I'm just showing him how crazy good the BF 109s are at climbing, especially this one, the FG. And I enjoy this fighter. I really do. I love the fact that it's a proper interceptor. It's an interceptor fighter with the cannons underneath, meant it was going out to go get bomber kills. They didn't think those cannons were there to strip away and destroy the engines of B-17s and B-25 Liberators, and absolutely wreck Sternoviks and ILs, and that was its job. Not so much getting the British ones, because the British ones are at night, and I don't know if BF-109s were strongly used as night fighters. They could have been. I don't know that much about them. It is a beautiful plane to fly. It's real easy to fly in arcade. It's not bad to fly in realistic either, and so it it makes you think, well, is this game hard for fighters? Is it too easy for fighters? And I think that's because the fighter brand is way too large. I mean, what I think you should be doing is, if you're in an interceptor, you should go and get interceptor kills, which means you go after ground attack and bomber planes, and you get a higher, maybe not money, but you get higher RP ratings for getting those correct kills. For getting your research points for getting the kills that the plane was designed to get kills for. E.g., like using a bow fighter to kill boats with the cannons and the torpedo, because that's what it basically did. It's what I think fighting in fighters should be like. Fighting in fighters, so let's say for example a Spitfire and a Focke-Wulf are going at each other, should get a higher reward than a Hurricane getting shot down by or a Tempest getting shot down by a Focke-Wulf. That's just how I think. You should get more RP for destroying the type of aircraft that your plane was designed to destroy. Going after this B-17, I do it all wrong. I miss a lot of my shots at the beginning, so I don't do the engine damage, and I don't cut off the wing like I was hoping to, and I pay the consequences. So, how does being a interceptor, is what I'm trying to now say, feel in this plane? Well, it's bloody gorgeous, in this plane. A fighter in these planes is so easy, so maneuverable compared to the bombers, and your objectives are so much easier to achieve than if you're in a bomber. It is so easy to kill a bomber, it's ridiculous. Because the bombers aren't in formations of 120 or 30 aircraft, the protection that they have is very minimum. And there is no chance of you achieving the goals in a bomber flying in a deadpan straight line if you got one of these bad boys coming after you. There's no chance of it. So I think it's a lot easier to achieve the goals with a fighter. You can go head on, you can derp around, or you can play for the objectives. And all it takes is to work out which ammo loadout you're going to use and go out and go use it, and you don't have to plan anything really. You just have to fly up, see if you find anybody, attack it, you normally kill, bingo bango, you've got your objective done. While on a bomber, you have to make sure you've got the right bombs for the right job. If you're going after tanks, you need something a bit heavier. If you're going out for all purpose, you need something else. If you're going for the bombing areas, you need big ass bombs. You need your 1,000-pounders, your 1-tonners, your 500-pounders. You need those. You got to have the right tools for the jobs with the bombers. You then have to plan your way so you meet as least amount of fighters as possible, because the fighters are really, really hard to get off you or not die to when you are attacked by them, except for when you have somebody like me who's derping around in a fighter and doesn't do it all the time. I is no professional player. And what you get is you get an easier, more game friendly sort of game that makes it easier for everybody to play. What this actually ends up being is everybody derping in the clusterfuck that turns up. Everybody starts doing the spiral of death, trying to shoot each other from behind. Teammates are shooting each other to try and get kills, and it doesn't work as intended. I don't think this is how they intended the game to be played. Beer after work. Nothing better. So, what do you think they actually intended to be played? Well, I think they intended, especially when they released it, I'm not too sure if they knew what they were doing, but they knew they had planes, and they probably thought that the simulator crowd would play more like a simulator. The problem is when I first started playing, over a year ago, I started playing in I think the January of last year, and the game played totally different. It was more individual dogfights. People almost found each other and dogfighted each other. There was a lot less just flying around in circles and derping and doing the clusterfuck, I believe. But then I was a newbie then, and I didn't really know what I was doing. Especially after the biplanes. The biplanes obviously was just the most fun since sliced bread ever. That was the easiest kill ever. And you got to say, oh, why is the game changed? Well, because it's become more popular, especially with the tanks coming soon. I mean, there's a brand new patch coming out today, which is the largest patch ever, or the slowest download ever, because I've got an estimated time of 1 hour and 51 minutes, which is forever. Absolutely. And I'm halfway through, so that means it's 3 hour long bloody update. And well, you got to get excited. You got to get hyped. You got to think, well, what's coming? What's coming? Are we going to get our tanks? Are we going to get something new? Well, we don't know, because these guys are keeping everything so close to their chest, because I don't think they know exactly what they want to produce with this game. Apart from making money from us, which is obvious, that's the whole point of having a business, is to make money. Funny enough, that's how it sort of works in the real world. We've got to just let them. make money. Here you have a BF-109 being a ground attack plane. It can do that. It gets bombs. Honest. Winky winky. So I look to the right. I couldn't help myself. I'm a bomber pilot. I need to kill boats when I see them. The the beauty of this game is its simplicity. The problem with this game is it's so simple. And if you go into realistic battles, you've got a wonderful, wonderful game there, but you're not necessarily going to get full games. It's very hard for a beginner to get into those games because it's so chock full of players who aren't forgiving at all. The realistic battle community is much harder and less forgiving on its community. I mean, it's not as bad as World of Tanks or Dota or anything like that. Those are some horrible bloody communities sometimes, and you just have to try and try and try to finally achieve something, and then you realize, it's much easier just playing arcade. So the real game, I think, is at arcade. I mean, you could talk all you want about the others, but I think what if I say what is War Thunder, somebody will talk about the arcade. They won't talk about necessarily the missions or realistic or simulator battles. Those are much more niche markets. Even within this game, there are much more niche markets, and you gotta be sort of say to yourself, what do they want from this game? I'm just turning here now because I can't help it. I have to turn, and I've sort of made myself go into the clusterfuck here. But I got lucky earlier, and I think I get lucky. No, I don't. What do they want to achieve from this game? Do they want to make the very best war simulator game ever? No, they don't. Otherwise, they would have made something like Arma or Operation Flashpoint. Do they want to make a really good arcade version of World War II fighter planes, just the same as there is quite a good World of Tanks is quite a good arcadey version of World War II to late Korean War tanks and even later. And you know what? It works. It really works. People actually want to play these games. And so it's working as intended, exactly how they've managed to do it. Was this their plan all along? Well, I think it probably isn't their plan all along. I think they thought it was going to be a much more standard affair of people picking up and going in as squadrons and achieving their goals in a more formatted way. My argument to probably create this is to make the arcade maps larger. I think larger maps gives you the ability that bombers can get to altitude that they're supposed to get to. Fighter interceptors must start on the ground even on arcade. Bombers can start above, and what we do in arcade, except for having a fair fight, so to speak, as two sets of forces fly from the same place, is we do it a bit like how the events are, and we do it more like that. I think that's where you probably get more of the war simulator feel even in arcade. And you could talk, well, arcade isn't a simulator, but this game in a whole is a war combat simulator, and is going to be even more so when tanks drop into open beta and when the boats come. And I'm very interested to see what the boats bring. We're going to be seeing what the tanks bring very soon, I suspect, and I cannot wait. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this, me prattling on about how I feel, mostly about Gaijin and their fighters. And I'm probably going to cleanse my soul and play with bombers an awful lot right now, just to make sure I can get some juicy ground target kills. Don't like those rest of those kills. They're kind of funny looking. Well, thank you very much. Have a good night, guys. See you